Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of our new, soon to be famous podcast, Please Get Help.
That's
It is your
ambitious, but
usual host,
I appreciate it.
your usual host, me, Jack Thunderbolt, the technical whiz, Tojic, and then the other guy that couldn't make it last time, who was also a technical whiz, Taz. Round of applause for Taz and Tojic. Uh, Especially for the new background they made, which those Mad Lads did it in a night, and it looks amazing.
Technically a night and a half, but Taz did a lot of the heavy lifting. He went ham,
You
but
both did, and it looks amazing. And thank you to all the viewers, the 18 viewers and 3 people that liked our last episode. Thank you so much.
this one's doing
Uh,
numbers.
wow, it's doing numbers.
But yeah, thank you all. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoy two man ranting at their computer screens while the third one listens in the background.
We will. He has just chosen to Yeah, he has chosen not to use the mic, so we're just gonna read his Discord messages like we usually do on our lives and other gaming sessions. I think without further ado, Mr. Tojic, out of my 22 list topics, you wanted to do number 7 of why not Elder Scrolls should have gunpowder weapons.
Yes.
Uh, would you care to start?
Sure. Now, I am technically going to kind of expand on it because this has been something that I mentioned to you off I guess off cam technically is this is actually a topic I remember looking into a while ago. So let's see. How do I start this without ranting off in different directions? So
That's the whole point of that's I will say ranting in different directions how our conversations usually go.
true.
And that's like the entire point of the podcast.
Right, right. Well, okay.
So go ahead.
So if it should, I would say it kind of depends on. I'll let me explain this first. So there is actually proof in multiple of the Elder Scrolls material that there could very well be firearms within the universe.
Doesn't Daggerfall like legitimately have cannons? Which
Dagger.
makes sense. Cannons were a part of the medieval period. Siege
Um.
weapons in Joan of Arc's time in the later half of the Hundred Years' War would have been cannons and not were cannons, not trebuchets and catapults. So they would totally make sense to have these giant siege cannons in
Um.
the medieval fantasy that is Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. So honestly, I can't speak for Daggerfall because I've actually that's the one Elder Scrolls game I have least experience with. But I can tell you a bit of a
Okay, that
lesser known title um is the Elder Scrolls Redguard. Redguard straight up has a scene in it where you hear cannon fire in the background. So I
that's pretty
know
dope.
that basically cannons are confirmed, and I want to say in another one there's like a note, like a book you can read about how like a ship basically sunk because it had too many cannons on it.
That sounds eerily similar like Henry VIII's ship, the Mary Rose.
That's most likely what it's in reference to. I'm gonna be honest. um,
I can give like a quick summarize of the Mary Rose. I probably shouldn't because you're talking and none of the viewers probably want it
just go ahead.
early
We're killing
Renaissance.
time.
All right, the Mary Rose had by the point I think it sunk in like 16. It was either 1545 or like 1548. It was during Henry VIII's reign and his like numerous wars with France. And she was a late medieval ship that had been around for a long time already. And then she was equipped with a bunch of cannons. But she had too many, and was low in the water. She was like riding low in the water, and her gun ports were like dangerously close. But again, on top of this, she also had like a pretty much rookie crew, and a bunch of the crew didn't even speak English. They were Spanish merchant sailors that were press ganged into service on the Mary Rose, which is why which the the captain of the Mary Rose's famous last words were, "These are knaves I cannot control." It kind of makes sense if most of them don't speak English or 1500s version English. And so the way before like the way pre-ironclad ships worked is there would be like decks of guns and they'd be at the wall. And then there's holes cut in the walls covered with like trap doors, kind of. And so when you went to fire, you would pull the rope to lift the trapdoor up, push the cannon out, fire, pull the cannon would like recoil back into the ship, or you would pull it back and then you close the port back down so water doesn't get in. But that is like a very complex uh activity for like a disciplined crew. And then when you have a bunch of wine merchant sailors and a lot of them don't speak your language, and then you do that. What what happened was the Mary Rose fired her volley on one side of the ship at the French, and then she went to do a really sharp turn to bring her other side to bear. But the ports were still open, including the ones very close to the waterline. And the weight of all the guns on one side tipped the ship too far, and then water filled into the ship, and then she just started sinking rapidly, and like she lost all hands basically.
Damn.
Yeah. So is that at all similar to the Daggerfall book, or am I just pulling shit
I
out of my ass?
cannot recall, but I wouldn't be surprised because that does sound very eerily similar. Um, but yeah, getting back to track. Um, yeah, and so in Redguard and Daggerfall, I think Daggerfall, there are cannons, and then there's that story similarity with the ship sinking. Um, and even in Skyrim, there's no cannons, but the there's plenty of like materials in the game that you could find that literally could show that like if someone wanted to in that time era which Skyrim takes place, someone could build a gun. Like cuz there's like when you go to the Draugr ruins, there's explosive pots, right?
Yeah, that's just flammable oil.
Well, it's flammable oil, but there's also something in there that ignites it too.
I I could be no, I remember. I think they're like have like what is it? Aren't they like filled with like never-ending candles or something?
I think so.
And then it lands into a patch of oil.
Well, I'd actually have to take a closer look. I can't recall, but um, The main point is there, there's oil, there's I keep losing my.
Ignition sources, definitely.
Yeah, there's definitely the resources for it. And even more into Skyrim, the good old Dawnguard DLC introduces the crossbow, which
Crossbows.
is may not be like full on firearm, but it's kind of like.
It's the bridge between your standard bow and a firearm.
Yeah. And the even with the crossbow, if you do enough side quests, you find out that basically the dwarves developed crossbows and whatnot. And even when you go to, I think it's Solstheim, you can find the dwarven ballistas guys, like the robot guys that shoot the arrows with them, or shoots the crossbow bolts. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the spear soldiers.
I
I
think.
think those are in every the guys that like
No,
run
no,
around.
not those guys. I'm talking about they were particularly introduced with the Dragonborn DLC. They're like they're literally like a ball, and they like shoot ballistas out their face, and then they like walk on like the little spider legs things. Like they're literally walking turrets, basically.
Uh, Taz asked the big quadrupedal ones, and I'll admit I haven't played Dragonborn. Like I think it was like early this year, late 2023 was the first time I actually went to Solstheim. But it was remember how I told you when I was playing Fallout 4 and I was doing stuff for the Brotherhood at Taz just uploaded a picture at
Yes, those
Cambridge Police
guys.
Station. And Night Ferris sent me to the Far Harbor DLC just to pick up like a scrap item or something. A similar situation happened. And it was the Breton chick with the crossbow stuff, and I needed the. Speaking of, I was playing a musketeer character in Skyrim, and so I had the Ordo Legioning mod, which adds muskets, and the one I wanted that looks the most like a matchlock needed the advanced enhanced crossbow as a part to make the musket I wanted. And so I played through the Dawnguard DLC, and she's like, "Here, the plans for it are here," and it's sending me the fucking Solstheim.
It's funny because that's exactly what happened to me. What?
So the picture that Tess sent, what you were talking about?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about. Also, he says, "What the fuck they make Elder Scrolls minis?" And yeah, they have a whole. I think they actually just came out with new ones too. Which, if I had the money in the world, I would buy every single one of those.
I I mentioned this in the last podcast because there's a company that makes pike and shot era minis, or I would buy some, but like I am not at all like the kind of person to paint or build little models. Like I suck at Lego, if that gives you any idea. So it's like, man, I'd love to, but I can't paint for shit. And those are so tiny and intricate. And then I'm gonna mess it up and I'm gonna get angry.
There's definitely
I'm
an
gonna be
art
sad.
to minifigs and painting. There's an art to minifigs, and then there's a whole nother art to painting minifigs.
Yeah.
Um,
And then there's fucking Games Workshop where like a small fire team of infantry dudes costs about as much as a AAA game.
God, frick, what was the meme I was just referencing? Ah, fuck. It doesn't matter. Rewinding back.
Anything on the lines of like if you get your kids into Warhammer, they'll never have enough money for drugs.
True.
Taz is a true.
Oh, I was thinking of the Metal Gear Solid Rising meme of capitalism at its finest. Anyways, so rewinding back on track here. Yes, the thing Taz said, that's exactly my whole point of bringing these things up is you can actually kind of see it. He is literally a walking turret, and like he
Looks like
literally
a
has a.
horseshoe crab, but the tail is out the nose.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
have you guys ever seen a troglodyte or a
I
horseshoe
have.
crab?
I've also been
That's
called one of
what
those things.
it
I'll let you guys decide which one.
is. Alright, back on track about the Dwemer ballista
Yes.
thing.
Basically, my whole reason for bringing this thing up is he's basically the Elder Scrolls version of a walking gun. And whatnot. Now, sort of bridging back into what the original question is of if it should be, I'm going to kind of inch back into that in how I think it could. Oh, so before I basically voice my opinion of if it should be, I feel like if they really wanted to add it, they could go a few ways about it. In the 25,000 years later, we eventually get Elder Scrolls 6.
Mhm.
I could honestly see Bethesda taking the route where, like, it's some Argonian in a shack and he's like, look, I built a boomstick. And you do a quest and then you get
I
boomstick.
when I talk my piece, I think they're a story similar to that, but go on.
Or they could kind of do what they just did with the crossbow as well and make it that the dwarves actually oh my god, I just realized
Mhm.
I forgot. I wanted to bring this up too before I got into this part. I can't show the viewers because I I don't dare try to mess with the camera thing. But I have that dwarven colossus that we got at the
Oh,
at Clink's.
uh, from the Morrowind pack.
Yeah, from the Morin collection pack. Literally, his left
This
arm
is
is just a giant cannon.
uh, excuse me. To any viewers, this is your sign to go to your like local secondhand nerd store or like bookstore. Cause at we have one in town. It's called Klingtronics slash the Archives, depending if you're there for the nerd shop or like the video games and
Excuse me.
comic books and whatnot. If you're there for the bookstore, I have patronized those thoroughly, both thoroughly. But I went there one time. I found an original Halo, original Halo original Xbox, and then I went back with Taryn. I think it was without your brother, and we were looking at because like the guy's counter checkout area is like a long display case, and we were looking at a shelf next to the end of the display case, and we're looking at stuff, and Taryn's like, "Oh, I don't really see anything interesting." And then we turn around, and in the display case, it's like the full collector's premium pre-order whatever for Morrowind.
I
And it's got the fuck off dwarven famous dwarven thing, a copy of the game, the map, and whatever else. And it was for original Xbox.
It was. I actually can't remember if my little brother was there because I can't remember if I was telling you
I
that
think
or if I was telling him that I didn't find anything interesting. But yeah, I just turn around and
no,
in
I
the
think
glass
he
case.
came with us the second time, but not the first time. Because that was when my mom was in Kansas for 3 weeks, and I'm like, dude, I'm running out of food. Can you take me to the store?
Oh, maybe. But regardless, yeah, I turn around and I see this yellow thing staring at me, and I didn't notice what it was until I looked closer. And then yeah, right there in big words, Morrowind's Collector's Edition, and I'm like,
Oh, you want to know what I scored at Grassroots?
oh,
Uh, for any Grassroots and is like a festival every year. It's like a big block party, and people bring their like classic cars to show, and then there are booths and things. And every year, the library like sells their used books,
oh yeah,
and I go there like twice, like early in the day to like see all the other booths, and then get some books, and then I go back because towards the end of the day, like when they're getting ready to close everything down, the library, it's like here, get a box, and it's like fill a box with books, and it's only $5. The first time I went there, I found this big set of like hardcover books about, excuse me, different seafaring peoples through the ages. And it's like, it's got books on the Venetians, Vikings, the ancients, pirates, man of wars. And then I went back again on top of like having a box full of books. I go down into the basement area where they have more books. And there's another big set of hardcover books, and it's about Old West stuff. It's like gunfighters, cowboys, and Spanish West. And like in total, I think in total I got like 40 books that day. In total, it was $21
damn,
for 40 books.
it's not bad for a bunch of used books,
Yeah,
especially
and
since it sounds like you got
the
the whole
the
History
hardcover
Channel there.
ones, history ones are in. I haven't opened them, but they look super nice. I don't. It's like no. There's no scratches or anything, it looks like. I just gotta find a fucking place to put them. Okay, back to what
All
you were
right.
saying. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So basically, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So if Bethesda did add firearms into Elder Scrolls 6, I could totally see them being like, "Oh yeah, the dwarves. Turns out the dwarves had guns the whole time, and if you go on this quest for me, I can build you one of them fancy boomsticks for you, and you can have yourself a mighty good time."
I
Um,
could definitely see that.
yeah. Um,
Do you want to know what the how the Ordo Legionine mod did it? The one I
didn't
was
it,
talking about?
didn't it just reskin the crossbow, or are you talking about
I
how
mean, it
you
did, but
acquire
that's
it?
for the animations. The mod descriptor itself, I don't know if it was inspired by Dwarven stuff or not. It definitely uses it to build them. You need the Dwarven smithing perk. That's easy. Just
Right. That's like
go mine gold and bang out 100 gold rings. But it's like the way that the way that the Empire came about. They were first built by the Empire to combat to like give their legionaries better firepower against elven mages after the Great War. And then some the thieves guild started smuggling them into Skyrim because of
okay.
course they would.
I actually like that better because I love the idea of the Empire being like, how can we shoot these pointy-eared bastards from a distance?
I'm pretty I'm pretty sure that's what the Empire from Warhammer Fantasy did. Though uh but it's more for as a weapon for chaos because the elves, dwarves, and humans are like usually allied to each other or like have a pretty decent diplomatic relationships.
Parry this, you
But
fucking
yeah,
casual.
Elder Scrolls, that's all off the table.
Uh, all right. So now, finally, wheeling into the original question of if it should. Um. So I feel like, right, with the Elder Scrolls, I feel like it would definitely be cool to have firearms. I mean, we've all modded a gun into Skyrim at least once or twice. Like, we've all shot a mud crab with a Glock or something. I will say, though, I can see both sides of basically yes and no to it. Because on one hand, it's kind of cool. Guns are cool. I'm just gonna say it. Guns are cool. I think we can all agree to that.
Absolutely.
And after actually what you just said with that mod, I could totally see it working. I will say though, little bit of a self plug here. I have found that when I've been writing like the Tojic universe and whatnot, it can be kind of tricky to try to balance swords or basically melee, magic, and guns. Because you kind of find some points where, like, a gun in this fantasy setting can completely make another thing absolutely useless. Like, kind of like in the imperial thing, like why have spells when I can just boom and whatnot. So it is kind of hard to find a balance in that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and it can kind of also make like just the whole like it can make like for Elder Scrolls it can make archery kind of useless if you bring in a gun unless they were to like make it that like firearms are a part of like the archery perk and it's like you have to kind of master the skill tree in order to use it. Um,
Yeah. And also, bows are much stealthier than firearms.
Very much, especially since it would most likely be a a like black powder rifle. So there wouldn't exactly be a surprise unless in Elder Scrolls world they have an enchantment called basically acting as a suppressor,
Oh,
but
bitch.
um yeah, honestly, so I think in my personal opinion, I think as cool as it would to have firearms, I think just the way the Elder Scrolls is structured, it probably would be better to keep it. I wouldn't mind cannons because I would actually be being someone who plays
Did you
ESO,
get a
I would
cannon
love
at
to blast
Solitude?
I would love to blast enemies with cannons on the front lines of Cyrodiil. Just, um, but maybe for the sake of like just the overall, I guess you could say gameplay and lore, probably just keep uh guns as basically mods for people to mod in my personal opinion at least.
All right. That is totally reasonable. Um, I think I'll get into that when I give my piece, but if you're done, we should probably ask Taz what he thinks, so he's just not a wallpaper this entire time.
Yeah, any comment on that, Baz?
God damn. For the viewers, what Taz has just done is he just posted a GIF of somebody going Terminator on the three assholes in the Black Brotherhood cabin with a minigun. That is a very good contribution, Taz. Do you have an
Okay, you know
opinion
what? I
one way or
changed
the
my
other?
mind. I agree with that. What that man just said. It's
Any closing remarks from our resident ship poster? Or is that just remarks complete, Taz?
guns or
Guns or
swag.
swag?
Okay,
Absolutely.
I agree. All right,
Uh,
your turn.
okay. I'm gonna give some facts too and against having guns. Uh, since you already, since you started with Crow having guns, I'm gonna start with why that probably won't work out. Uh, I'll say I'm very much less versed in actually playing Elder Scrolls than you. The only Elder Scrolls I've played is Skyrim, unless you count like the 3 hours I half-assed in ESL. But it, I know it's fantasy and it's not supposed to be a certain time period, but
Right.
like the Stormcloaks are Vikings, and the Empire, they're proto-Romans. So it's very obviously Dark Ages. Like we're probably not even in proper medieval times, because I think most people consider the start of medieval times 1066 with William the Conqueror's invasion of England and the introduction of armored knights into warfare. Like greater and greater warfare. Uh, so like I don't think guns came around until like the 13th. Gunpowder at least didn't come around until the 13th century. Uh, Speaking of starting of gunpowder, the most common, I guess the most accepted theory or story for how gunpowder came about was there was an alchemist in China, and like they usually do, they were trying to achieve immortality. And so this guy thought, I'm gonna mix some charcoal, some saltpeter, and some sulfur. I'm gonna stick a candle in it and see what happens.
Kaboom.
It didn't exactly cause immortality. It caused quite the opposite. But it's like, hey, this is goes up and makes a loud bang. Let's put this in a bamboo tube and send it into the sky. And that's how fireworks came about. And then over time, weapons like the weird shine, like hand grenades, and the fire lance, which is a spear with one of those like bamboo tubes on the end. So you shoot a guy in the face as you're charging him with your horse. Like, imagine if think of like Heath Ledger in A Knight's Tale charging at a guy, and then at the end of his lance is like a single shot shotgun barrel that just goes off in the guy's face. That's what the fire lance basically is. Uh, there really isn't. This might sound stupid, but there isn't really. I guess a intellectual society like China, where it's like a very organized society that can put the funding into alchemy and such. So that's probably sounds a little stupid because alchemy is very well a thing in Skyrim, but it seems like nobody's really looking for immortality or longer life. Because like the great, probably the most developed society or the greatest society is the High Elves, and they already live to like 500 years. So what's the point?
Right. Well, and
And then
uh
go ahead. Sorry.
in most case scenarios in the Elder Scrolls, they try achieving immortality through screwing over the gods. Like not to
Or fucking with people's souls.
yeah, pretty much. Not to veer off course, but have you ever done the quest for Amira's
We've done nothing
star?
but
Or
Zero, of course.
what is his name?
Uh,
Her name.
sorry, I
Is it? Yeah,
spoke
isn't it
over
Amira?
you.
Whatever. There's one of the Daedric artifacts. It's a star, which is basically a soul gem that doesn't break,
Zero.
and the whole quest line is the guys trying to achieve immortality by screwing over the god. Basically, that was my
It's
point in
either
that.
Azula. No, Azula
Azora's
is
Azora's star.
Azura. Yeah,
Yeah.
Azula's princess from Avatar.
Oh yeah. Point is, in the Elder Scrolls, no one thinks of alchemy for immortality. It's I'm gonna screw over the god, or I'm going to suck your soul.
Yeah, and then I think I've got one more argument for against firearms. Well, I think I've kind of got two. I'm going to start with this one. Uh, I guess the reason firearms there's like a twofold reason for why firearms really started rising in popularity is A, they're much easier to use and train than with a bow, and B, they're better at puncturing armor. And if you look at the Elder Scrolls, and it seems like anybody can pick up a bow and like be accurate, and it doesn't seem to be like any great physical task to use one. There's really no need to uh and there's really no need to find something easier because it already looks easy by the physics of that universe. And it's like the making of bows is pretty easy in there. It's like you slap. Cause like if you look at how uh how you make the bows in Skyrim, it's like here's this material, make it. It's like you don't even get a bowstring. What what it takes to make a bow in our world is like either grab a piece of out of a really good tree like yew or ash, and then just carve it forever into shape. Or if you look at like composite recurve bows, you shape and layer a bunch of materials like horn, horn, wood, and a bunch of stuff, and you like, and with generous amounts of glue, and then like making the arrows and the bowstring is a totally different animal.
Yeah.
Well, like, but it looks way easier in Skyrim, and then I'm not sure they're like industrially capable of firearms because like it's when people get when it when what am I thinking of? It's like when the making of things gets more advanced in history, because a cannon is like no small investment. That is like 100 pounds of bronze that you have to smelt, pour, rough grind, and whatever, and then you fit it to a carriage or a ship or whatnot. And then there's cast iron, but that's not much. But cast iron is lighter and cheaper, but like it's still a process.
Yeah.
And you know how there's like an actual space station in Elder Scrolls? And my like one thing, one my one comment about the space station is like, these people haven't mastered the water. These people don't have water wheels yet, and they have space stations.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna be honest with you. As an Elder Scrolls veteran, I did not know that, and I'm kind of shocked to find out there's a space station canonical in the Elder Scrolls.
I, I could be wrong because it was in some random lore TikTok, but it's like, yeah,
Oh,
there's a space station.
I knew that.
Of
What?
course, you did,
Oh no, I feel like a fraud. What? I knew there was a flying ship, but like, what the fuck?
yeah.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to derail.
So yeah, it's. I guess what it boils down to is my against argument is A, there doesn't seem to be a need to make the easier option the gun when magic and archery is already seemingly pretty easy. And B, I don't think their current industry is capable of committing the firearms full on.
Yeah.
So like in the long run, it might make more sense logistically uh to like just melt lead instead of fetching entire arrows. Fletching, I mean. It's just it doesn't seem they're equipped for that yet. Does that uh Tez said there was an Epic Nate video about it.
Oh my god. I
You seen
watched
that he
that
started
mofo
doing
too, and
ancient
I still
history
didn't
now?
know that.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. What I was.
You go ahead. I
Oh,
talked over you.
I was basically just saying I watched Epic Nate as well, and I didn't even. I apparently never saw that video.
I probably did either. I just watched his top 10 list to fall asleep.
Whack.
Real.
Real. Damn.
I think I'm gonna go. I'll start with my for argument, which is, I mean, guns are cool, obviously, and like the materials are all there. Like the very basic form of gunpowder is charcoal, saltpeter, and sulfur. And where you get charcoal from a very specific way of burning wood. You get saltpeter from, I'm not kidding you, bat shit. You like scrape bat poop off of caves, and then I guess you process it into saltpeter. We've seen bats. There are caves everywhere. Bats are absolutely a thing.
Yeah.
You run into them in Bleak Falls Barrow. And then sulfur comes from volcanoes. And like, I don't know about you, but I remember a volcano being like a very big plot point at some time. The Red Mountain in
Not once, but
Morrowind.
twice.
Yeah. If there's one, there's got to be more.
Hell, I mean, just side note, Raven Rock could be a booming economy if they were just harvesting all that freaking sulfur, basically.
And then like to make the actual firearm, it's like steel slash iron, wood, and then rope, hemp rope to make the match. It was like you didn't even have matchlocks in the beginning. In the very beginning, it was. I think I've told you this. Scaled down version of a cannon barrel slapped onto like a plank of wood with a handle carved in, and then you either struck a flint into the ignition hole or you poked a lit match into it. So hell, teach the guy a little bit of flame magic and then stick his finger in the hole. But I'd much prefer actual matchlock weapons and whatnot. And then it's if, if you set a game into an era where gunpowder makes more sense, then that will really stand you out from what, 20 different fantasy games that are on the market?
I mean, there's a lot, but
It's I'm pretty sure they're not making I don't know, there probably is going to be a Total War Warhammer 4 because 3 only came out 2 years ago, I think. But what was I fucking thinking? Yeah, setting it in a different period than just vague medieval times would make it stand out.
yeah,
I think to properly implement it would be to do a different era, where I've talked a lot about pike and shot and how much I love it, but it makes sense because with pike and shot, you've got firearms, but melee weapons are still very much needed,
yeah,
and then you can figure out a way to throw magic in there. I mean, people still need their wounds treated and their sicknesses healed.
true,
Conjuration would still work. Destruction, obviously. Excuse me. It's- I would just, and again, would just love a 30 Years War version of Skyrim.
true. That would be actually pretty swag. Um, I don't know why my voice just dropped there, but um,
Uh,
but
I
yeah.
can't think of any more to add to that.
So yeah, basically there is, in conclusion, to wrap off this essay, firearms could totally exist in the Elder Scrolls, but rather they should or shouldn't is kind of up to your own personal opinion, which any viewer listening, you are very much welcome to give us your thought down below.
But if you comment on this video, we will absolutely read your comment and discuss it with you in the next episode.
Yeah. We are at 48 minutes currently, so we
That's
we we
we can
beat
stick
we
another 20 minutes, can we?
yeah. Is there another topic that interests you from the list, or anything that
I'm gonna
we
that Taz. Because if it didn't interest me, I wouldn't have, or I didn't think I could talk about it, I wouldn't have put it in the list.
right?
Speaking of, I better delete 7 from Dyatlov Pass. Okay. I think what I meant by that, I think all 3 of us. You know what? Let me recount Dyatlov Pass real quick. This is uh both the channel Simple History and Bedtime Stories have done episodes on it. Quick runners, quick fucking run back or flashback. Group of Soviet college students go out in the woods to get their final hiking certification to make it to where they're big cheese hikers now. Uh, they're out up till their uh stated return time. Nobody thinks any of it. It's Russia. It's the middle of winter, and then they're out past that time, and they're out longer and longer. up to the point where the Soviets send officials out, or like search parties are sent to go find them, and they find their tent in on like a desolate hilltop away from like the protection of the forest. Uh, there are holes cut into the tent. A lot of their clothing is left. Uh, and then there are people. There are bare footprints. There are barefoot footprints going into the woods and whatnot. And they eventually find all the bodies, and like I think at like the bottom of a small ravine or something in dugout snow shelters, etc., etc. And they, on top of obviously showing hypothermia and whatnot, they seem to all have some kind of physical trauma to them. And the mystery's still out on what happened to them. Now I have my two what I believe happened, the plausible and the meme answer. What do you guys think first?
Um, well, I'll be honest, I actually have not heard of this incident before,
Survivor
so
story.
I don't quite have really any good input, but not gonna tell the survivor stories.
I don't remember a survivor. Granted, it's been forever since I watched anything about Dyatlov. That is all off of memory. That's just a that was just an excuse to talk about what I think would happen, what I think caused it. Can you give me a recap on the Survivor story? Because I do not remember survivors. He is typed, yeah, one chick survived.
And
I do not remember anything about this chick.
I'm I'm trying to quickly read through this wiki article on it, and most of it's in freaking Russian. Go figure. But
Sure, Wikipedia has. Hold on, let me. So I can't find anything.
Tez says, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't remember 100% either, but she made it clear it wasn't like a murder or anything.
Okay.
Um, I would just jump into your two things, what you think happened.
Okay. Here's my plausible. The simple history video meant simple history is like history videos presented in cartoon form. They're pretty fun. Their thumbnails have gotten rather unhinged recently. And also, I don't like how they change their thumbnails every 3 minutes. But anyway, one of the plausible solutions or whatever that they said that like caused that might have caused people to run out was this thing called infrared sound. Infrared sound is like sounds at decibels that humans cannot hear,
Right.
but we can feel it, and it causes like adverse effects like nausea and anxiety and such. Tigers actually emit infrared sound, and it's like part of their hunting. It's like it destabilizes uh their prey. And it's like there have been reports from like zookeepers and whatnot that work with tigers experiencing this. And we didn't figure this out until very recently that tigers did that. So I think that's just cool.
I was gonna say that's kind of
And that
scary.
might be why the lone survivor chick saw uh the Tazza said she saw the others just start bleeding from their eyes and clawing at their throats and whatnot and ran. I think the infrared sound might have caused that. I do not know. I'm not really an expert in that. And then my meme answer is that it was Yeti did it. The Yeti was actually like got pissed at him and just murked them
I hit
in the
with that
middle of the
Yeti.
night.
100%
100%.
Valley of the Yetis, I think.
Yeah. There, Discovery, I think like Discovery or Travel Channel or something, put out a documentary about it like a while ago, and then they've since put it on Discovery Plus.
Damn. I gotta say, that actually piqued my interest. I didn't realize just how freaking dark this thing. I think I'm gonna have to stay up at 3 a.m. tonight researching it.
Yes. Also another thing I saw, oh, it's just a avalanche and like that started it. Like, because that makes sense. If there's an avalanche next to your fucking tent, you're gonna run, you know?
True.
Especially in the middle of the night.
I think it was probably the
That
result
was
of
one of the
some
things
kind of nerve
suggested
gas.
by Euros in the 50s. Yeah. Well, I think one thing I would. Okay, here's the entirety of what Taz has said for our viewers. I think it was probably the result of some kind of nerve gas testing. Euros in the 50s, the police waited weeks to investigate. It makes the most sense, IMO. It kind of does, but like, you would think they would get like a better test, that get like a better pool of test subjects than what is it, 8 people out in the woods in. Okay, if it wasn't intentional, why were they dropping it there in the first place? Like, you would think you want to do it with labs with like actual equipment to test it. Oh, so it's, you think it's from residue? Like they got into like the residue of it. Is that what you're suggesting? What for what Taz had said, he said they had tested it before the hikers went. There were other details that made it make sense. I can't remember right now.
I kind of, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know much about this incident either. We'll probably have to pick up on this again in a later episode after we kind of relearn it. But I kind of agree with what Taz is saying. Some sort of testing residue thing, and then these hikers. I could believe that basically. Like they just kind of stumbled into the aftermath of whatever it was that they were testing, and they kind of suffered these effects from it.
Yeah, that makes sense. America has every government's just done fucked up nuclear, done it fucked up testing on their citizens, unwilling or not.
That's like rule one
As
of
a
being a government.
Yeah, and I still think that the like naturally produced infrared sounds or the avalanche seems like the most likely.
True. I actually really like both of your guys' answers. Both of those are very spooky, basically.
Yeah. And
Well, in conclusion, here's what I think. I think everything you all said is right. I think a Yeti was performing tests with alchemy stuff, and he heard survivors coming. He panicked and he dropped his experimental juice, and the juice started producing the infrared sounds, and everyone went crazy. Real. Oh, and to cover it up, the Yeti was like, "Oh no, I made great mistake," and then he caused an avalanche to hide the evidence. And
Why
then,
did the Yeti attack you?
and then, throwback to the past. Us three Chads when we were playing, what was it? Ghost Recon. I think it was. Which Ghost
Wasn't the
Recon was
Yeti
it where
more
we hunted the
powerful?
Yeti?
Yeah, I was so disappointed in that.
Because it wasn't actually a Yeti.
No, it was some jackass with a 50 cal.
Kind of funny. It is kind of funny, but I kind of fell in love with the idea of an actual Yeti using a 50 cal. True. All right. Well, we are at exactly an hour and a minute. So,
Yeah, that's probably a good place to leave
we we
off.
we beat our record of the first episode. The first episode was 57 minutes, I believe.
I guess
52,
52.
but
Just how I'm trying to think of a title. It's like Gunpowder, Skyrim, and Yetis Oh My or something like that.
I mean, to be honest, we
Like
could
the
probably just title it the first question, but
no, that's should probably be like we'll just call it Gunpowder and Elder Scrolls and Dyatlov Pass.
dwarven
Dwarven Yetis
Yetis
with
with guns.
guns.
I
Can
like
you imagine a Yeti with dwarves?
how that hurts my head. How that's like a Gary's mod model gone wrong. Okay. Well, we'll have to answer that
We just
question.
so crazy with them.
We'll have to answer that question in another episode. So, anyways, thank you all for listening in. I hope you enjoyed this nonsense. I hope you enjoyed the hard work Taz and I put in and enjoy this lovely little therapy screen because we need it. We need therapy before this shenanigans.
Yeah, thank you for listening to our previous episode and this one. If you agree, disagree with us, or you just want to add your own, if you have thoughts you think could supplement our points on either what happened at Dyatlov Pass, which is which I forgot. One of the guys that went missing, the leader was a guy. I think it said Igor Dyatlov. So it's the pass is named after the guy. Okay, there were 9 Soviet hikers
Hmm.
led by Igor Dyatlov. So that's why it's called Dyatlov. Anyway, if you have anything to say about the Dyatlov Pass incident or gunpowder weapons and Elder Scrolls, do tell us, and then we'll read your comments in the next episode. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to Please Get Help episode 2. I can't wait to see you in Please Get Help episode 3. Hold on. There's more. Mad Dog's Blue Pine says, "Wait, I think I'm stupid as fuck, and I'm not thinking of the Dyatlov Pass."
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, do tell. Please do tell, man.
I
I
can't find
can't find
anything I
anything I
remember.
remember, bro.
Well, we may or may not have just spread false information. That's what you get for listening to three gentlemen at 1 in the morning.
FM.
Okay, well, in that
Okay,
case,
I'm
we will
looking
definitely
for
pick up on that
anything
topic next episode. And before we get distracted with anything else, good night, y'all.